to the soft power frequency.
Coming to you live from Village in the Sky, this is Soft Power Hour. Welcome everyone to the Church of Soft Power. My name is Siobhan and I am one of the founding artists of this lay-led church for the spirits of creativity, connection, care, change, and choice. Soft Power Hour is our monthly live stream service gathering on the first Monday of every month here on Soft Power TV, Power of Connection with our community, our breath, our bodies, and our spirits. And I'm joined live tonight by my co-founder, Midori, who will now tap us into the soft power frequency.
Thank you, Siobhan. Welcome, everybody, whether or not you're watching back on the replay or live with us now. Just really grateful you are here. You have chosen to be here. Hello, Holy Haunted. Hello, God is her oath. We're so happy to gather virtually in the Village in the Sky with y'all and practice, be in ritual together. So I'm here, like Siobhan said, to ground us in and tap into the soft power frequency. So wherever you're at, inviting you to bring awareness to where your body contacts the surface that you're sitting on, standing, laying down on. Just bringing some awareness to that contact to begin with. Feeling your breaths deepen a little bit more, bringing awareness and presence to the body. And inviting you to take 3 deep breaths, biggest breaths you've taken all day. Reminding you that everything that we practice here at Soft Power is an invitation. So inviting you to practice these deeper breaths while you breathe in, breathing in, cleansing air to your body, and exhaling any stale, stagnant air, really letting that breath exhale fully out of the lungs. Learned from Dr. Kiki that exhale, those last couple seconds of really expelling that still breath from the body is really helpful for your lungs. And just bringing some whatever movement feels really good for your body right now. And so maybe that is whatever you have access to, but I like to start off with a little bit of hip circles. So I'm bringing a little bit of undulation to the hip area. Maybe it's a little bit of movement in your neck and your shoulders. I always feel a little like click and tick in the neck, feeling those vertebrae. Maybe doing some shoulder circles. Bringing the shoulders one direction. And then the opposite direction. So loosening the fascia, loosening, getting our muscles warmed up a little bit, getting the chi flowing. And then rubbing our hands together to cultivate our life force, chi in our hands, and placing your hands somewhere that you need a little bit of touch. Maybe for me, I'm feeling like I need a little bit of touch on my shoulders. This is the grief point in TCM, the TCM system. And maybe trying a little bit of tapping, playing with the quality of touch. So Sometimes you need a really light touch. Sometimes you need something that feels more firm. Sometimes you need some staccato. Sometimes you need a little bit of stimulation. So just paying attention to your body and what feels good. Maybe you can try a couple variations and continue with the one that feels good to you right now. I've been needing a lot of like tapping on my shoulders because this is where a lot of the grief is held in our body. So it's a good way to like move that energy without feeling like you got to do too much. that's how I feel. That's the essential, the basics of energy work too, is like it doesn't take actually that much to move the energy through our body channel. So maybe working down the outside and the inside of the arms. And then you can move down the chest, down to the tummy, down to the thighs. I'm feeling like I want to transition to a little bit more of a massaging motion. So I'm massaging down to my legs. I like to put a little bit more pressure on my shins, so I'm doing that. Working down to the ankles, to the feet. The feet definitely get neglected a lot, I would say, from personal experience, as well as just, I think, like societally, we're not really paying attention to our feet sometimes. And when it comes to our anatomy and all of the weight bearing that our feet do for our bodies, it's just really nice to give a little love. Practice a little bit of intuitive acupressure on the bottoms of our feet. Maybe it just feels good to like even just like bring awareness to your feet. Maybe you don't like touching your feet. Some people have a thing with touching their feet. So bringing a little awareness to just even your feet contacting the ground. I love massaging my feet. So that's what I'm doing. Working my way back up to the other leg. Paying attention to my breath. Staying present. Maybe there's a sensation that just wants a little bit of light touch. You can just breathe a couple breaths there. Working up to back to our arms. Inviting you to bring your hands to a prayer position. Feeling a cleansing waterfall descending from the top of our heads all the way down to our feet. Feeling cleansing waters wash over us. Feeling the grounding of our bodies and the earth supporting us. And calling in our protective spirits, our guardians to the space now. Bless and protect us, protect this space, protect this ritual, protect everyone who is tuning in from harm, intentional or otherwise. Thank you for joining us today, and I'll ring the bell. You are now tapped into the soft power frequency. All right, I think that should I just transition into the astrological message, or I'm going to give you a little, I feel like Shivani has something to say, a little intro. So I'm going to give you a moment. No?
My only thing to say is that my crow friend came down when you rang the bell. That's really it, though.
What a lovely transition. Say hello to Siobhan's crow friend entering the field. Hello, Merrick Syzygy, welcome. So we're transitioning now into a little message from the planetary ancestors, the cosmos, little astrology read, as well as a message. I did a little divination before this stream, and what came through was this month. If you're tuned into astrology, and if not, this month, when it comes to what is happening in the cosmos, what is happening with the planets is quite, I would say, intense. But the message that was really like coming through was like, it is this era of like a fresh start. And I don't want to say that without saying like there is going to be a lot of intensity. So from a more technical standpoint, the sun, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, and Neptune will all be in the sign of Aries throughout this month of April. We also have a new moon in Aries. And Aries is the sign of cardinal fire. It is instinct, it is impulse, it is the signature of the spark, that what is beginning. It is not, I would say it is not something that is restrained. It is something that will act on impulse, like I said. And so in looking at this as an astrologer and looking at this as someone who listens to a lot of other professional astrologers' analyses on what this means for us as a collective, it's quite, there is a really, really intense, like all of the astrologers have been saying for a long time, that this is like one of the most intense months. And I just want to be like straight up with that. Like there is to not bypass the reality of like, regardless of astrology, it is intense. Like we are experiencing times of world war. We are on this, and what has come through for me, it's like we are on the verge of what is collapsing will fall. And that is truly, I think, the astrology podcast I was listening, they were making this analogy of like, it's like it's like someone's walking into a store that sells bubbles, and the person walking in is like, has a mohawk. And it's just like, the conditions are, inflammatory. They are ones that are going to test us in ways that we've seen. If you are intuitive, if you are present with current events and reality, and the acknowledgement that we have been living under forces of empire, and the acknowledgement that our material resources through the lens of this colonial capitalist patriarchy have been disrespected and pillaged. This is a time of like reckoning, and I really do feel like there is no way around sharing like the intensity of the moment, and like and when it comes to like sharing here on Soft Power at the Church of Soft Power, my focus is always like, what do we need to know so that we can be fully rooted in our ability to enact choice in our lives and to be in connection with one another through these times of change. And the prayer has been like, may we continue to have the tools and resources and skills to stay regulated as much as possible, and also like acknowledge the moments when we cannot, when it is just a lot. And to reflect, and there is a need, like the message has been, it is necessary to have the skills to be able to reflect before you act this month. And I would say it is very unnerving to know that the energy of this month is that people will be acting on instinct, because as we know, people don't, instinct is not in people's best interests a lot of the times. Sometimes it is, and that's why it's there. But I would say like this month is one where there is this very, very intense need to reflect and to know who you are, what your values are so deeply that you are not moving from a place of reaction, reactivity to, and when I pulled the message from my spirits, it was saying like, yeah, all the signs, if you listen to any of these like analyses by astrologers, they're like, oh damn, the shit is hitting the fan this month. And I would say that yes, that is true. And there is this element of, we are spiritual warriors. Like if you have been on the path of reclaiming your connection to the natural world, to the earth, to your good spirits, to your well ancestors, to like the interconnectedness of all of us, to community, to people that align to your values, that this is the time of, this is our time, this is the gift of the presence that we have been cultivating for many, many years at this point. And hope is the key. Like our presence and our hope is the key, and our interconnectedness with one another is the key. So don't let people tell you that hope and faith do not matter during this time, because I think it is the foundation by which we are being called to move right now. And don't let people, in also in the same regard, don't let people gaslight you to say that this is not revolutionary times. We are not living in radical tides are changing type times. So it is intense as fuck. And also that's why we're here. That's why the church, Soft Power, Village in the Sky, this membership we've created is for the spiritual warriors to link up, is a sanctuary to be in reciprocity with one another, to feel and be witnessed in spaces together, to practice our gifts, to get attuned to our callings, to understand and be held by one another. And I also wanted to bring up that this disco ball that has, I don't know, I think Siobhan, you might have been the one to really channel this, but the disco ball has been the symbol for us to acknowledge that we're all these mirrors for one another, and for you to know here at Soft Power, you're not alone. Like that's why we show up. That's why we chose to build this community and choose to be lay led and choose to show up virtually, is to like be that oasis, be that village, that astral village for people to know that they're not alone, to know that they're not in it like by themselves. And I wrote, it's like that we are of the natural world and we are interconnected in the most mundane and miraculous ways. But yeah, no, you have your well ancestors, if you don't have the community in your immediate IRL life, like that's what we are here for at Soft Power. That's what your connection with the land, this earth, your spiritual practice. That's why that's so important. And that's what's making me feel sane and be at some semblance of sanity at this moment, is just because I've had this community and I've had like my connection to my well ancestors and this earth and the natural world and the spirits that walk with me. It's because of that like trifecta connection that I feel like I have. And so yeah, we're just here to remind you. that's what we're here to do. And Yeah, I think one of the big messages is like the rituals that ground us really, at least for me, and I can speak from my personal experiences, cleansing, grounding, and protecting like every single day. Um, and whatever that I was like, I think I'm gonna post something on maybe in the Village in the Sky Discord about how simple that is and what my practices are for that. And I learned from Caitlin Grania, um, who teaches a spiritismo through the spiritismo lens. And that is such a simple practice, but it's like so effective. And it really is my spiritual foundations for this moment, and has literally like saved my life. Like, I have to say, like, my connection here, my connection with my spirits, my connection in those like spiritual foundations has kept me on this earth, y'all. It has been quite a challenge. So that is the message for April, is that yes, this is the month where things are going to get even more real. And also, we are so resourced, the land, and Siobhan will tap more into this, but the land knows and will there's this support. Like, the biggest grounding for me has been literally feeling like the earth literally like contact my body at all times, and the connection that I have with my community, my local community, and just through walking outside sometimes, or even feeling like my roots dropping down into the earth, and the messages that I receive from being in connection in that way. So yeah, I'm just want to say that this is going that we have chosen the wildest timeline. Like, our souls have chosen the wildest timeline, and I believe that this is like a moment for us to really remember, just be present with it. It's just, and that sounds so simple, but it's just really that. It's like, just be present with it, and like there is no shortcut. There's no shortcut. There's no way out. There is only being here right now, and to be in our bodies and be in connection with one another. And I think that is really scary, but also very, very beautiful. So yeah, I will leave it with that. I'll turn it back over to Siobhan. I know you might have other things to say, but thank you.
Thank you, Midori, for your word, your astrological sermon. I know this is going to be left field, but I've been watching this Netflix thing on dinosaurs. And it actually has surprisingly felt so spiritually grounding. This, like, Netflix has this new, I think it might be, I might misspeak, but it might be like a Spielberg dinosaur documentary. I don't know. Somebody notable or celebrated made a new thing on dinosaurs. And I've only watched the first like episode and a half, but it like kind of just is taking us through linear time and the planet. And so going from like the ancient reptiles, and then the first kind of emergence of first dinosaurs, and then them dying, and then there being like millions of years until the next ones popped up. And it just really rooted me in just like both the expansive, infinite um, amount of things that have occurred on this planet, but also, like you're saying, the presence and the power of, and just the assignment to just be present in this one, because it really is such a blip. And for many of us who feel like we may be ancient souls, what I was thinking about when I was watching it was like, oh my gosh, like these are ancestors too. Like, seeing the geography, what I really loved, which I feel like I never picked up on, if maybe they didn't talk as much when I would like pick up on dinosaur stuff as a kid, but I love that they're showing like what that modern day land is now. And so I feel like that's something that surprised me as an adult, learning like, yeah, here this land here on Turtle Island, the home it's been to all these species, even though humanity may have started at another end of the continent before it split and spread, and there was all this migration. So yeah, it felt deeply spiritual to think about the nature of these like spontaneous formations of carbon that have occurred over millions and millions of years, and how we're all just like, yeah, like little spontaneous bits of carbon that have incarnated into endless possibilities. And um I don't know, something about that was deeply comforting. So I was surprised to be deeply comforted by the timeline of dinosaurs. Also in how it looked at the planet and like the formation of mountains, and how it was like there was like millions of years of snowstorms endlessly. There's like um eras of where gas just like burst from the earth and took everything out. So I don't know, as little buckets of gas, where we chose this like we chose this timeline, and there's others, and I don't know, it just makes me a little more, it makes me feel a little bit more carefree about being here. So you know, I'm glad I'm not the only one who finds it comforting to just look at the planet from that like very zoomed out timeline. And when you talked about being spiritual warriors, it really made me think about like the point of being your point on our on instinct right now, right? You said there is going to be a lot of acting on instinct, and when you said that that's not quite something that's always expressed in a life supporting manner, I think about that, yeah, because our instincts have been shaped by the last like five at least centuries of colonization, globalization, all of this stuff, and it goes so much further back, obviously. And so, and it comforted me seeing these dinosaurs to see too, like, yeah, that was instinctual for some of these creatures to be predators. Like some beings are instinctually predatory, and I think of the evolution of humanity and where we are now in linear time, and the opportunities that we have to be consciously present with our instincts and to repattern. And I feel like that's such a big assignment for this time. And so when I think about the Church of Soft Power and our community here, our congregation, I think about I just see all of these um, ancient energetic forces that have come to we've incarnated into bodies that carry I think of sometimes as our DNA as like software, or like operating systems, and that many of us have incarnated into these families and these communities that are deeply broken and deeply distant from a more life affirming, nurturing um, existence. And the point of us gathering here is really to intentionally recharge our light and to stay connected with our light and not let it fully go out while there's so many life-threatening forces out there trying to dim it, trying to extinguish us. And I really see us coming back here to get back in touch with source and to recharge so that we can show up as leaders in our communities, because we are going to be we've already been faced with the deeply toxic patterning of many of our families of origin, that have not been able to recognize the light that we are. And my own testimony that I can share is that by staying relentless in it, it actually has shifted my family. It actually has um, shifted. I'll speak specifically right now to um, my relationship with my mother, who that relationship was really, really strained for a very long time and not affirming to my identities, to my desires, my visions. And right now, I just imagine that many of us are experiencing that same thing of denial and the manifestation of fear of our I just say families of origin. I was going to say loved ones, but and maybe we don't all feel that way toward them. um, these people that we care about and that we're connected to. These people are intrinsically connected to, who have been taught to not trust themselves, and so therefore they don't trust you watching me. Trusting what we see and what we feel. And today, as I was meditating in my garden on what to talk about tonight, I was just hearing these messages from the land and from the birds that were just consistently saying, like, we remember what it was like. We've seen this before. Birds also connected to the dinosaurs as well. Some of our living, more ancient beings. And so, yeah, they were just saying, we remember. And when it gets overwhelming, because it is gonna feel overwhelming to witness the flailing of survival, um, all around us, the survival of systems that need to die, of ways of being that have run their course. um, what can we do? We can give it to the earth. I'm looking at my little notebook here and said, just give it to the earth. We remember. And so that's kind of the conversation to open here with y'all. And I'm inviting everyone in the chat to also share this, but it really comes back to the land. And that was the theme that both Midori and I were like, yeah, that's what I was feeling too. Is like, we just talk about like how we are restoring our relationships with the land as our readily available comrades for co-regulation through this time, for rooting in these times. And most of us, everybody that I see in the chat here are, I don't know everybody who's watching, but most of us are settlers in where we live now. Most of us are not in land that we are native to necessarily. Um, and I've been thinking a lot about that. I've been thinking a lot about that as somebody who's the first in my mother's line to be born here. I'm in California, and also the sixth generation of my paternal side to be born here in San Francisco. And what that means when I look at that long, long timeline of migration of who's native and who's not. And I've been thinking for a long time about how even that separation is is not really the conversation I want to have anymore, in terms of where do I put my presence and how am I not just decolonizing but also re-indigenizing my relationship to land, and how am I choosing to root here, to heal relationship with spirits, to choose to form and develop relationship with animals and land spirits and um, people, of course, that are here when I can't go back to my native lands. I don't want to go back to the lands that I'm native to. They're not my homes. And even I had a really I've been grieving a lot the last couple months because I've been feeling this changing of the guard, even spiritually, of a spirit guide and a deity that I've worked with for a very long time, releasing me and asking me to root deeper into relationship with the spirits of the here and now of where I physically am, because deities are born of the land that my ancestors met them on, and even though I can connect with them, there's things I'll never understand because of the geography of my life, because of the pace of my life, and the responsibilities of my daily life. And so it just really feels like things are like, I just feel like seeing like marbles tossed in the air and like seeing where that we're landing in a different place, and that I need to stop focusing on, well, I still need to grieve it. There's always going to be a necessity to grieve it, but also stop in a way longing to go back, longing for a pre-colonial existence and a pre-colonial way of being, and instead focus more on, what can I take from, what can I learn from these ancestral ways, and instead build ancestral futures. Um, and I'll say that a lot of that is, I think we can look to works of Afrofuturism are really leading us in those conversations, in terms of what those ancestral futures can look like. But that is what has been hitting for me today. So I would love to invite folks to share in the chat, what are the ways that we are connecting with land? I imagine that many of you have um, practices and methods. I think the simplest one that I see a common response when people are like, "How do I begin connecting with my psychic gifts or with my intuition or my ancestors?" And people say, like, "Go sit with a tree," and I think that's just a really good one. For me, it's definitely spending a lot of time sitting there. But one that I'll share, um, that that's been on my heart a lot, and that came through again this morning, was actually thinking about this repairing of the idea of blood sacrament. And so, we had Easter this weekend, the Christian Easter. I know there's many other holidays. um, that I was raised in the Catholic Church, so that's what I'm most familiar with. But I know there are many other holidays around this astrological time, and also looking at Epstein and the violence that's going on. And I'm not super informed on what these theories are around what these people believe in, but ultimately, whether it's intentional or not, there's bloodshed in service of a god. And what the land is asking of us is to return our organic matter. Literally, it's been the land telling me, like, start some compost in the yard, um, to speak more about, as a birth worker, speak more about how powerful it will be if more people just simply took their placenta home from a birth instead of letting the hospital dispose of it, and instead buried it in a yard if you have one, or returned it to the earth in some form. Returning your blood if that's something that you could do safely. Um, but there's something to this disconnection. And what I was seeing was like things trapped in plastic, just like suffocating, and what that's done to our spirits, what that's done to the land, to have an incomplete cycle of death and compost. And so that's the message that I was sent to share today, was whatever way you can, how can you um, re-engage even physically, if it's your sweat and tears going back to the earth. There's this longing from the earth um, to receive what needs to be composted, to receive our grief, to receive our fears, to receive our heartache, and all of it, our laughter as well. But that just felt so loud in what is something we could. I always feel nudged toward finding like what is the one thing that we can do to further and with our presence, with our actions, what is like one simple action we could do to bring um yeah, just the world that we want to see, build our ancestral futures. So I'm gonna read some of these, and then Midori, I would love to hear what you have to say. So I love this one. Pour my Diva cup onto the earth, monthly love. The Holy Haunted went to the park on Saturday and just stood by a little creek. I closed my eyes and let the wind kiss my cheek. I felt held. I've always felt a connection to the wind. I'm air dominant. Ooh, I so see that. I so see you with like, when I imagine you, I see you with that like knife and swords. I think that you had the imagery going. Also, notice that you went from blue to red on your hair vibes. And yeah, love that. Yeah, making a playlist, listening and singing along. Hmm. Whoa. Vibecaster said, on Good Friday, a mother hawk was dropped in front of me while walking my dog. Was there to ease it through passing. Wow. Wow. Yeah, sacred but violent. I think that is I think us like not turning away from the violence, you know, however we can safely is also healing. And then today, three on the third day, live Mama Hawk in her tree. Mm, wow. Yeah, so Midori, are there any favorite ways that you have to connect?
I love seeing everybody's, like experiences and practices. Lately, I mean, I'm a Taurus rising, so I'm so body based. And lately, I've just been walking around. I have the ability to walk around my little patio area in the front of my apartment barefoot. And so I've just been like contacting the earth and really just like sending a lot of like love down through my feet. And especially when I'm feeling lately, when I've been feeling pretty like I need some co-regulation and there isn't someone like, you know, a friend, or I don't really necessarily feel like verbally engaging with somebody or hopping on like a body doubling situation. I'm just been like placing my feet on the ground. And I always cycle. I think this was informed by like Reiki as well and like my work with body work, but running, like breathing in just the energy and the nurturance and the of the earth up to the top of my head and breathing back down and offering like, and I just cycle that like over and over and over. And just that self Reiki and energy work just feels really like placing a hand somewhere and directing that also to an area of the body that I need that nourishment is really powerful and it's very effective. Um, Singing, humming, my voice is so powerful and just like that vibrational medicine. Um, one thing that I wanted to share is a rage practice that I do because I do feel like this month is going to, and in general, it's like we're not taught how to express our rage. And so something that's worked for me was so I basically go into child's pose and I place my head down onto sometimes it's a bed, sometimes it's the ground, and I place a pillow, basically like hugging my body and covering my mouth. And I'll basically like hum like really loudly, like huh, and I'll basically press all the air starting kind of at my pelvic floor all the way out. And I'll cycle that like huh, 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 huh over and over and over again. And there's these periods of time where I just feel like I'm so rageful, or I'm so angry, or I have so much energy literally like pent up in my body, and it helps me like discharge that energy. And that pillow, like, it allows me to be as loud as I want and like really feel that vibration. And there's also something about like placing a pillow close to, like, contacting the pillow with your face, that you feel the vibration of your voice. Your body receives the vibration too. And that's a really, I mean, that has been, I started doing it, I think, one time at retreat with Siobhan and the rest of the soft power team. Siobhan was like, yeah, she's kind of going into the birth process right now. And it feels like that. It feels like I'm like purging out something from the body to give space for what needs to come through. So I would say that's a really powerful practice, of you screaming in my car and like giving that actually as an offering to the land. Cause I'm like, a lot of my rage feels so ancestral, feels so of the earth, you know? And so like I scream in my car, that's an offering. And then acknowledging the animals, like Shawana has been sending me this picture of like the birds in her backyard. And yeah, I've just been paying way more attention to the animals that are that surround me, and just noticing, like, not even, it's like, yeah, I don't expect an animal that I've never been like actually reached out to before to like immediately, you know, it's building a relationship, you know, it's like not assuming that these animals are going to like you even, but just the respect to be like, hey, I acknowledge you. I acknowledge that you're here. Um, and that's what I would say. Yeah, my rest practice is also a really powerful way that I receive, like, I feel like I physically receive from the land. And also it's just like, feels like this very reciprocal energetic relationship of constantly feeling my body being supported by the earth, and that being an offering to the earth as well. It's just to feel that presence in the moment. That's what I would say. Those are all my practices right now.
I love the rage practice. Yeah. Thank you for that. The animals, yeah. So my crow friend, that started probably like a month ago. I was at the beach. That's a big one for me. I sing to the ocean a lot, or scream with the ocean a lot. I live near the ocean, near the Pacific Ocean, so I'm there a lot. And I was just sitting there doing some qigong, or yeah, doing qigong at the beach one day, and I saw this person walk by, and all of a sudden all these crows were flocking to them. And as I saw them like walking down the beach, they walked kind of like out of my line of sight. But I could see like all the crows flocking. And then when they were walking back, I was just like, hey, like how, when do you know, like, what's going on? So I just asked them about it, and they told me that they worked at a coffee shop, a couple of blocks up, and that was their pre-work ritual that they started last year. That every during the week they came around the same time. And I started with peanuts, and I know controversial about giving wild animals food, and if that's not your thing, respect it. But that was their ritual, and then they gave me some peanuts to try, and I was inspired. And really, there's one crow that specifically sits on the post outside of my place, and I one day I had like, what did I give them? I had some roast pork. That's what it was. I had like Chinese like roast pork. And so I put like a little piece of the skin on the fence. And um, then they just like kept coming back. And then I was sitting out there last week with our friend Ashley, and it just has been sitting on the house looking down while I'm in the garden. And then today the same thing happened, and today I just put water out. I like had the put the trash. I have this like empty trash can that I put the lid upside down and just like filled it with water from the hose. So that's what I've been watching. It's like I made this little like crow bath out here, and that's what I could see um, when you rang the bell, the crow came and was like drinking water and just kind of like playing a little bit in that little bird bath I made. So it was just really sweet. Um, and oh my gosh, I need to read the comments here. Um, Vibcaster's mom has a truce with the wildlife. Peanuts that are shared between the squirrels and crows. She brokered the treaty and asked them to stop living in the attic, and it worked. Love that. You know what? My mom too will be doing the most. Just the animism lives in us, right? I love it. Yeah. Crows are an exception. They're smart. They is that an exception to the don't feed the wildlife rule? I know I kind of felt so too. I'm like, we just gotta make like trades here. Um, so yeah, relationship with the animals of the land is really beautiful. And I felt that first time when I like did a big yard clearing. Um, that was when a hawk the next morning my garden was like covered with feathers, and it was because a hawk chose to prepare their meal there. So that's how I got the name Hawk's Kitchen. So all the things that we do with the land, and the last one I'm going to shout out is look up your local, like who is native, if there are any native organizations, because one of the ones that was like the first practices I did before I had a more intentional spiritual land practice was just paying land tax. So here in the Bay Area, it's called Shumi. There is two Ohlone groups. There's Ramaytush Ohlone, who are of San Francisco, and then there are those in the East Bay, and both of those groups have ways that you can pay a land tax, and they have a little calculator to make it equitable to what you earn. And that's a big one too. Steward some form of reparations. So we're coming basically up at the hour. I think that feels complete. What do you think, Midori? To go into um, our events for the month. So I would love to see in the chat maybe what is like something you're gonna do this month to stay connected with the land. If you're watching this back later, please leave it in the comments. I would love to witness it. And I'll be accountable. For me, it's starting my compost. That is my assignment this month that I'm going to commit to, is starting a little compost outside, and that's going to take a little bit of research just because I do have critters. Um, but that's what I'm going to start with. Let's bring this up now.
Thank you. Yes. All right. So this month we have quite the lineup of calendar of events. Starting with, let's see here. D&D game night is on, oh my goodness, it is this Saturday with Jamae. And it is just a gathering of Soft Power Village members who are playing D&D on stream. Have I played before? No. Some people are playing for the first time. Siobhan's played for the first time last time. So, some of us are newbies, some of us are veterans. So join us in that entertainment. I think it's going to be entertaining. I don't know. How was that, Siobhan, for the last one? I'm curious about the vibe.
It's so fun. Okay, so if you've never, I'm gonna share from an enthusiastic noob perspective. Connect with Jamae to make your character if you didn't already. I chose a pre-made one because I think it takes a lot. I thought I was going to make my own from scratch, but I think it takes a lot more knowledge. Jamae is an amazing DM. Is that Dungeon Master?
Yeah, I think.
The world is like a Ghibli type of magical world, and so we like went on a quest. It's like you're living in a storybook. It's like you're living in a Ghibli movie, and so I had to. It took me a little bit of time to catch on, but everyone was so patient. Vibecaster was there, Syzygy was there, and we were like working together and also staying true to these like personalities according to our sheets. So it was just so silly and fun, and I feel like I asked so many times like, am I allowed to do that? And so that to me that's how we got the bag at the end, is because I was like, am I allowed to steal it from them? And basically it's like anything you want to do, you roll the dice, and that kind of is your like how successful it is. So it's super super fun.
Ooh, okay.
Everybody that is playing, probably you might be the only other newbie doing it. So everyone's just so entertaining and in character. Um, like I just love seeing everybody in their like alter ego basically for it. So that is my enthusiastic 2 thumbs up if you want to be entertained by this very wholesome activity. Tune into that on Saturday.
Yay. Okay, love. So don't miss that. If you're home on Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. Pacific, tune in on YouTube right here. We'll be live. The following Thursday, I will be hosting our alchemy activation, which is my group experience where we rest together. We create some art together, call them divinatory expressive arts. And the people that just show up are just so cool. I love the shares. There's always testimonies at the end, so people sharing what comes through for them. And it's always so cool to see, whether verbal or visually, what people come up with. It's like just so magical. So please join me for that. Oh, here we go. And then New Moon Writing Circle with BA on the 17th, that following Friday. You all know what's up. I think everybody here has been to one of BA's writing circles, but very powerful, usually like a synthesis, astrology download of what's going on in the cosmos. They're a very talented astrologer. And then they go into some like focused questions and prompts to process based on that lunation cycle. So highly recommend that space. Oh, today's their birthday. Okay. If you're in the Discord, wish being Nathaniel happy birthday. I need to remember to do that as well. We got Soul Spa on the following Monday with Siobhan, I was about to say. And restful space, very powerful. I would say that majority of people that come through come away with some sort of very message from their spirits from the land, and it is really a dream space. I would say it is truly a cozy, comfy space to just be yourself and relax, and receive. Balkan trance dance.
Real quick, I'm just going to say that is also 420 and
Ooh.
Earth Day is that week. So that is going to be the theme of this month's Soul Spot. Is going to be very connect with the land, the earth, the plant sisters.
Plant Festers and 420, the other 420, so Care Creators Circle is the Thursday, and we just had our first Care Creator Circle. Siobhan, I feel you gotta share about that, because that was epic.
Okay, yes, thank you. So Care Creator Circle is the continuation evolution of our Care Immersion group. So that's our community that started 2022, 2023. It started with doulas, other caregivers, service providers, and the intention of that space is to kind of think tank together how to evolve our personal projects and businesses to be more soul sensitive as kind of the rooting there, just inclusive and thoughtful. And so it's a great space to bring a question. It's really intended for people who are actively building some type of care creation for the community. So folks who are starting out their first offerings, who are maybe holding events for the first time virtually or in person, people who've had longtime businesses that are wanting opinions of peers as we just build things that are inclusive of more of us. And so it was really, really, really sweet and beautiful vibes on the first one. If you're a member, you're welcome. If you're an alumni of one of the past care groups, you're welcome. And to become a member, if you're not, of course, just join any of our other free events, and it's free to become like soft power member. So yeah, come hang with us.
Come hang with us. It was really helpful to be there as a participant. Last time I got some data research for my mentorship program. So highly advise you to come through to that if you want to be around other care creators, want to be around other people who are making things consider. I see it's like an art everything we're doing is an art practice to care. Creative collective care is what we're doing here at Soft Power. So then we have Balkan Trance Dance with Merrick Syzygy. And so they put here the song that we're going to be dancing to, and that's April 25th. One of the songs is one of their childhood faves. So I'm excited to attend that. That is the first trance dance offering that they've held here at Soft Power. So I'm really excited for that to move. I think having some more movement on the calendar together will be really fun. And then the last Monday of every month, we have Village Members Social, which is I would say it's pretty casual. It's conversational. We kind of the agenda varies based on what the members want to do. Last month, we did a Sydney about the Bountiful Bewitcher on Instagram, who's a member in the Village in the Sky, led us through a transmutation spell, and that was really fun to do together. So I do see that space. That's a space that I steward. I do see that space evolving and having other people step in, practicing our practices together as well. I think it's another space. Care Creative Circle is a space to bring your questions, and then Village Members Social is a space to practice among the village members. If there's a practice you want to try out and see how that's received by community, that's a good space to do it within our community. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have, like Siobhan says, are interested in joining our membership, Village in the Sky membership, with softpower.org/village, you just have to attend one gathering and you're in. It's free to join. And we are also still fundraising for our operational fund. We need to hit at least $2,000 just for this year to keep our digital lights on. We're all currently volunteers here at Soft Power. Me and Siobhan are the founding artists, but we also have members like Merrick who have been helping us with our events calendar. We have software that we need to pay for, like our streaming software, our booking software, our Notion database. So if you have any funds and you receive from us and you would like to support what we do here, please donate. No amount is too small. We have a recurring donation link at our Give Butter portal. And yeah, all donations are tax deductible. So thank you all for being here. We're going to close this out now. I hope to see you at any of these events the rest of April. Yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you, Siobhan, for being a lovely co-host. Thanks for tuning into our monthly live stream service. May we all stay Rooted, grounded in connection to this land, to all that walk with us and guide us. May we can stay connected to this village in the sky. And yeah, we're in this together, y'all. Stay present.
Say, go forth and prosper.
I was like, is that the closing? Go forth and prosper, my villages.
And pose for the ancestors. Love y'all. See you later. Have a beautiful evening.
See
And we'll see
ya.
you soon.